Hi, everyone. I'm a PhD student from Institute of Information Engineering, Chinese Academy of Information Sciences. Sorry. My name is Qiyang Song. And this work was collaborated with He Qing Huang, Xiao Qijia, Yuan Boxie, and Jia Haocao. This work focused on reentrancy detection in smart contract. And we utilize the special code patterns on Ethereum to refine existing detection tools. Let's first talk about one of infamous smart contract vulnerability, reentrancy. Reentrancy has caused lots of financial losses on the blockchain over the years from 2016 DAO attack. And how exactly reentrancy attacks work? Basically, by exploiting reentrancy, the attackers can manipulate program execution. Let's say the right figure. The right figure shows the key insight of reentrancy attacks. Firstly, the attacker calls a vulnerable function, and step 2, the function checks a certain variable s, and step 3, the function transfers money to the external account, external attacker, and before the variable s get updated, the attacker calls the function again. And the function, since the variable s still hasn't changed, so the function passes the checks and also transfer more money to the attacker. And the attacker keeps repeating this process over and over again until he or she drains a huge amount of money from the smart contract. That's basically how the reentrancy attacks work. And yeah, that's the workflow. Okay. And to prevent reentrancy, and the industry and academia have come up various tools to detect reentrancy vulnerabilities. And most tools utilize static analysis and symbolic executions to look for a classical pattern. That is, read and write operations on the variable coincide with an external call. And with these patterns, these tools have achieved high recall rates, but meantime, they also produce lots of false positives, which make our security teams feel overwhelmed, exhausted, and confused. So why these false positives come from? Recent studies show that existing tools ignore anti-reentrancy patterns. So they may falsely classify safe, protected smart contract as vulnerable. So what exactly are anti-reentrancy patterns? Anti-reentrancy patterns are literally code structures unintentionally or intentionally designed that can stop illegal users from reentry functions to make profits. Let's look at the bottom left figure. This figure shows a typical pattern. And these patterns place a checks on the sender's identity. So if you are not right sender, and the program, the smart contract will end up. So in a conclusion, to reduce false positives, we should develop an automated tool to identify anti-reentrancy patterns. So our solution relies on deep learning models to automatically learn anti-reentrancy patterns from lots of Ethereum's real-world smart contract. And in practice, smart contract may contain various code patterns, not just anti-reentrancy patterns. So how can we precisely learn anti-reentrancy patterns from those mixed patterns? Our key idea is to design specific methodology and data structures to capture most related semantics. And let's say the first step. We begin by filtering smart contracts that potentially contain anti-reentrancy patterns. Our method is based on K-inside, on Ethereum smart contract that prone to reentrancy often contained anti-reentrancy patterns. So we can utilize reentrancy knowledge to identify those most related smart contracts. So based on this smart contract, after filtering, we further provide data structures to capture most anti-reentrancy semantics. And in smart contract, we observe anti-reentrancy patterns often impose data and control dependency constraints. So we firstly use program dependency graphs. These graphs may contain some irrelevant dependency information. So actually, we notice anti-reentrancy patterns only impose constraints around external codes. So we propose a variant program dependency called rent-PDG. Rent-PDG only preserve components related to external codes. So how can we construct rent-PDGs from smart contract? One intuitive method is to construct inter-procedure program dependency graphs from a smart contract and use deep first search to include those related PDG components. But there is an issue about our DFS, deep first search method, because it doesn't consider inter-procedure calling context. So it may falsely include loads within infeasible paths which are actually not connected to external calls. So we conduct context-sensitive reachability analysis. This method utilizes context-free languages to analyze path feasibility. And by combining this language with adjacency metric-based reachability, we can precisely analyze reachability information and accurately construct our rent-PDGs. So based on the rent-PDGs, we train the recognition model to automatically learn anti-reentrancy semantics. Firstly, we train a graph autoencoder to capture inherent semantics into graph-level embedding vectors. By clustering these embeddings, we can mine typical anti-reentrancy patterns. And based on these clusters, we can later recognize if a smart contract contains anti-reentrancy patterns. So specifically speaking, if a smart contract rent-PDG embeddings fall within the learned clusters, we can see the smart contract indeed is protected with anti-reentrancy patterns. And next, we show our evaluation experiments. Our evaluation uses 40,000 real-world smart contracts on Ethereum. And our system output 12 clusters. For each cluster, we randomly select some smart contract to review code patterns. And finally, we found out 12 anti-reentrancy patterns. And for example, reentrancy guard and EOA restriction. Please see more details in our paper. And among the 12 patterns, 8 patterns are newly explored by our system. And here we show some examples about our newly discovered patterns. One typical pattern is EOA restriction. EOA refers to those accounts, external old account without any code. So if the attacker required to be EOA, they do not have code to perform reentrancy attacks. So another typical one pattern is access frequency limitation. And this pattern places checks to control the function access frequency, so the attackers cannot re-entry function within a short time. So for these anti-reentrancy patterns, we also conduct comparison experiments to study if existing tools can detect and learn 12 patterns. And our results show existing tools can only detect 4 patterns at most. So we also evaluate the anti-reentrancy recognition performance. Our system can accurately detect anti-reentrancy patterns with recall rates over 85% and 100% precision. Okay. By combining our system with the workflow of existing tools, we can significantly reduce false positives by at least 85%, and the tools does not compromise the original tools' reentrancy detection capability. And in a conclusion, we propose a tool to identify anti-reentrancy patterns on Ethereum, which can help existing tools to significantly reduce false positives. And we also design a specialized data structures to capture most related anti-reentrancy semantics information. And our experiments show our system can newly explore 8 new patterns, anti-reentrancy patterns on Ethereum. Thanks, everyone. I'm happy to answer any question.
We have time for a couple of questions.
Okay. Yeah, from Singapore Management University. Yeah, I'm wondering if you consider to use, for example, the light long model to, because you use the machine learning model, traditional learning model to predict whether there exists an anti-reentrancy pattern in smart contract. Do you consider to use a light long model in the prediction task?
We haven't tried, but we consider in the future work, because I think large language models may consider some texture information, and they may understand the relationship between the code, you know. And I think our next work is to use large language models. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I have a very quick question. So the measure that you use for evaluation was the recall, and that is the closest that can come to the coverage. But why did not you use the coverage directly? Coverage of those patterns, yeah, coverage.
Coverage.
Yeah.
We actually, in our papers, we have detailed each accuracy in each category. So
okay, so you have it.
Yeah, we have evaluated.
All right. Well, let's thank the speaker again. Thank you. Thanks.